Hey there, everybody. This is Will. Thanks for joining us. We are not officially started yet. We got about Hey there, this is Will. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm excited for today. We're going to have a lot of fun. As you can see, this is what's new in Playback. We're going to dig in here in just a second. But if you're watching this, let us know where you're watching from. I'm watching on YouTube and Facebook. Looks like we're live and we're cranking there. Let us know where you're watching from. And if you're currently using Playback, or perhaps maybe you tried Playback before, but you were waiting for a few specific features to come and you haven't used Playback in a while, let us know if that's you. And the hope is today that you'll see some of those features are in Playback. So today's exciting. Again, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about what's new in Playback. So depending on when the last time you used Playback, it may be a lot or maybe you may be up to date. But regardless, either way, I'm going to show you two brand new features we have not talked about publicly that are not out publicly yet. And then I'm going to talk about how you can have an option to use them before everyone else. So I did say share the link, but maybe you shouldn't because you don't want other people to get on this, but you should, because you should be a good person. So, because you're watching this, you're definitely a good person. Hey, Matthew, good to see you. Matt from Indiana, a lot of Indiana people on here. Let's look at YouTube. Charlotte, North Carolina. Thanks for your kind. Jason using Playback this week. Services already set up and ready. Perfect. Awesome. Well, yeah, again, I'm so glad that you decided to join us. It's a real honor that you took a couple minutes out of your day to join us. This shouldn't be too long. But again, like I said, we're going to talk about what's new with Playback, and we'll also talk about a few brand new features, which I am excited about. So let's dig into it. I'm going to start with one of my favorite things we added in Playback, and that is just a brand new look. So again, depending on the last time you used Playback, this may have changed completely, drastically, and looks different from the last time you saw it. But one of the things we did in Playback is our designers worked really hard, and we have fantastic designers. Don't you agree? I think so. And they did a really good job of taking Playback and saying, how can we update the look? How can we kind of flatten the look, but make it look more up to date? So you'll notice faders, everything, it looks a lot like the previous Playback, but just kind of a fresher, cleaner update. So everything's flat. We got rid of the leather. If you are into the leather background, I apologize, it's gone. But got rid of the leather background. It's flat. Our faders look really nice. One of the things they're really focused on is trying to make this really usable, really functional for people. And so they said, if we can make something bigger and it needs to be, we'll make it bigger. If it can be smaller and it helps the experience, they're going to do that as well too. So they did a lot of focus and a lot of work on the interface of Playback, which is great. So let's do this too. Let's take just a quick break. We're having some tech issues. Otherwise, we would show you what Playback looks like. And we'll see if we can get those sorted. Again, while we're working on that, let us know where you're watching from if you use Playback. And let me say one thing too, Tyler's gonna post a link here. If you wanna follow along as we do the webinar, click this link, download Playback, use Playback Intro, use it for free. You'll be able to do everything we talk about in this webinar, which is really cool. So again, let's take a quick break. We'll see if we can sort out some of our tech glitches with our webinar system, and we'll be right back. Thanks guys for watching. And again, in the meantime, even though I joked, share it with your friends, let them know you're watching, and we'll be back here shortly. All right, and we are back again. Thanks so much for joining us. It means a lot. When you've used Playback, maybe depends on what you've seen, what you haven't. But the very first thing I want to start about is just the new look of Playback. So we'll make sure everything's working and you can see it. And there we go, beautiful Playback. Let's give it up for Aaron, by the way, all the unsung technical people that make all this happen all the time. So this is the brand new version of Playback. Again, like I mentioned, our designers did a really good job of trying to find ways to update the interface, but still making it feel like the same old Playback we know, just less leather. And so the buttons, some of the buttons are bigger. The tracks, the volumes for the tracks makes it a little easier to adjust those, which is nice. So some small tweaks just makes it a little easier to see, and then also trying to just make sure everything looks good across each device. One of the other things we did is we have this new edit song menu. So you can go in, change a lot of the functions of each individual song after it's loaded into your set list. So for instance, one of the things we heard from a lot of people is, hey, I load a song in, and let's say we've got Trimble and we realize, oh, we don't need drums. We don't need guitar for this. What you used to have to do is delete the song, start over from scratch. But now you can go in, and again, let me show you, make sure you understand how to get there. I just hit edit, top right-hand corner, and I'm hitting these three bubbles. That's our edit song menu. It's gonna pull this up, and then I can go into the track setting here, just take out drums. Let's take out one of these loop tracks. And let's say we have both electric guitars. So I'll do that. I'll hit update. And then now you can see, you maybe saw that happen. The faders just automatically adjust for me, which is really, really cool. Takes that stuff out. If I want to bring it back, we can go back into tracks, select all, and let's bring it back, right? So it's super easy. Small, just kind of functional changes are now riddled throughout the app just to make it easier for you to use, which is cool. So just the look of the app, adding the edit song menu is a big thing that really helped, that I'm a really big fan of. But let me talk about probably the most, and I think we did this end of last year, but one of the biggest changes we made that just unlocked Playback and really was one of the things, even for me personally, using Playback front-end tracks I struggled with. And that was just getting from one song to the next, the idea of transitions, right? So the idea of how do we get from this song into this other song, and we delete the silence, we delete the space that we had. There's nothing worse than using a pad and being in the middle of the pad and having to stop it and then start your next song, right? Just that awkward silence is not fun. So what we did is we added this new transition menu. Let me show you what that looks like. So let me jump down here and I'll take you through a few different transitions. So when you hit the in-between, and if you remember, if you used Playback a long time ago, used to be this button that let you choose to auto-link or not auto-link. So right now there's 4 default transitions. The first one is no transition, which basically means, let me jump to the end of the song here. That means that at the end of my song, it's going to select the next song and stop. Okay, so I edited the endpoint of that. It stopped immediately, selected the next song. That's kind of what we used to have, right? Was it would just stop, pull it up when I'm ready, I can press play, which is great. Now that's really nice, but what if I want to, do this song and then immediately start the next one, right? So it's less about making a seamless transition, like tying them together, and it's just more about at the end of this going to the next one. So I can go in, I can edit, delete the ending here, and let's go to right here. I turned on auto link, okay, and I'm going to go straight from What a Beautiful Name into Relentless, and let's delete this intro for Relentless. All right, go to the end here, and let's see what we got. See if this is going to work for us. There we go. Let's listen to it. Okay, so you can hear immediately when What a Beautiful Name ends, it goes right into Relentless. Now, that one doesn't work perfectly because you hear it kind of, we retard at the end, right? You hear the vocals. It's weird to cut it off and go into the immediate next section. But that works really, really well for building medleys of songs. So one of the things people ask us all the time is, hey, I wish I could make it to where I could put the chorus of Relentless in the middle of What a Beautiful Name. Super easy to do. You could duplicate one of your songs, add that chorus, delete your other song to just the chorus, add that afterwards, and kind of make it however you need to, which is cool. But AutoLink is really, really neat for making those transitions and making things just really happen quickly and right away. And the thing that I love about this too is when you see that transition, it happens immediately. There's no pause to load the next song. I remember, this was almost a year ago, but I remember Playback used to literally take almost a second to load each song, the next song. So AutoLink in and of itself is really big. But this song in particular is a perfect example and perfect reason to use our next transition type, which is overlap. So I'm going to select that. And basically what overlap means is think of this song and then we have our next song. And what's cool, this is a transition we came up with completely from scratch. Nothing like this had been done before. And as we're thinking about it, what do we typically want to do in worship sets? A lot of times we talk about crossfade. Everyone wants a crossfade. But when we look at the type of music we typically play, we actually don't want a crossfade. We want this just to naturally decay, song 1 to naturally decay, song 2 to naturally kind of fade in, right? So if we did a crossfade, we would lose a lot of that. We'd fade out too early. So what we did with overlap is we made it to where when song 1 ends, by the end point of that, song 2 is automatically started. What's cool about this, I always love pointing this out, is overlap is not set to 5 seconds, right? It's not by default 5 seconds or 10 seconds. If it was, it would maybe work most of the time, except for when it needs to be 15 seconds, when it needs to be 20 seconds. And so what we did is overlap is automatic and it's smart. And this is the way it works. So let me add my intro back, or my outro, ending, there we go, back to this. And if we listen to this, it's going to decay. Let me actually turn our transition on for a second. Let's listen to it decay, and let's see if we can find a good endpoint for that. Okay, so you can hear kind of at that point, right around, you can see up at the counter, 5:31. That's right around when our song kind of ends. So what I'm going to do is select right here, okay? And I'm going to go up to the counter, and I want to set the endpoint for this song. So I'm going to do set endpoint. Let's do set from current 5:32. All right, so that's right around where we want it. And then what I want to do is choose overlap. And Relentless, the way this starts, there's 2 ways I could do this. If I was doing this with a band, I probably actually do want a count in for this. So I'm going to go back and add my count in again. And let's just reset default arrangement, right, to get that back. So there's my count in, back in. What I want to have happen is as What a Beautiful Name is ending, it's going to just naturally decay, and then it's going to go into Relentless, give me the count off. And the goal is by the time I hit the end of What a Beautiful Name, Relentless has started. So let's listen to that and see what we get. Here we go. Cool. So again, in that one, you can hear What a Beautiful Name is kind of ending, right? And then it goes into Relentless. And the cool thing about that I want to point out is where Relentless started was based on how long the outro for What a Beautiful Name is, which is really, really important. Again, it's not a default setting. It's actually smart. So if the ending is super long, then it's going to wait till the end of that to start, so that start the click for the next song, so that you're in by the time it ends. Now, listening to that, though, I did edit the endpoint of What a Beautiful Name, which is good, but I still feel like there's a little bit left to the end of What a Beautiful Name. So what I'm going to do is actually choose crossfade. And again, crossfade is exactly like overlap, except for the fact it's going to fade out and a fade in. The fade in doesn't really matter for Relentless because it's just click, but it's going to add that fade out for us in What a Beautiful Name. So let's listen to that now and see if you can tell the difference.
One, two, intro, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so that may be better based on what we're wanting to do. I think I'd probably be okay with overlap, especially if you have a band, full band on stage that you're playing with. Overlap typically is the best one. So that's kind of a pointer. If you're looking for transitions, default to overlap unless you need to have that fade out, fade in. Now, if you're going from a full song to a pad and you're maybe in the middle of the pad, you might want to use crossfade so that you can fade into the pad as opposed to that. But transitions is huge, and it's as simple as the click of one button, which is what I really, really like. Now, the other thing we had, one of the new features I really like that I think is important and again makes playback really usable for a lot of people is the brand new click options that we have. So 3 kind of particular points I want to talk about. First is just adding a default click. So if I go to add a new song, let's add a click after Relentless. Okay, so we're at 130. Let's say we had a click going out of Relentless right into this click. I'm going to go to click tracks here, and I can name this, and let's call this Relentless Click. Okay, we're at 130, so let's choose 130, and we're at 4/4, so we'll leave that at 4/4. Now we have a couple click options here. One is we could choose infinite loop click, and when I do this, basically what we're going to get is a count in. We're going to get a infinite loop section of the click, so it's just going to keep going over and over, which is really nice if maybe you just want to have click going and you're not sure how long you want that to go for. You have that option. And again, that's only on subscriptions where you have Pro and Premium, so which is where you have infinite. So if you don't have that option, you're not going to see it. But one of the nice things about this is when I turn this off, it's going to default me to measures. Now, if you've been using this, you might be going, I don't understand what's going on with this app. Every time I change it, it has different measures. Well, the nice thing about this is we're by default give you a 10-minute click no matter what tempo you're at. So as I change the tempo here, you'll see the measure number adjust, and we're going to do that math so that that automatically happens for you. So just one of those small little things that you may not have noticed, but that is there. So I'm going to add this click in just like this. Okay, and now what I have is I have Relentless, and then I have the click for Relentless at the end. And let's kind of combine forces here, and let's get rid of this ending, and then let's do auto link, and we have this click going, and let's see what happens. So what I want to do is essentially at the end of Relentless have my click continue at 130. You can see those are the same tempo, and let's see what happens. We'll talk about a few other click features here in a second. So let's start from here.
One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So again, this is going to give me about 10 minutes of click at 130 BPM. And what's nice about that, using AutoLink means as soon as I get out of the song, the click is going to go, which is great, and that is huge. A couple things I really like about this though. One, you may notice too, we also added count-ins and guide cues for click. If you want that, you got it, which is great. But you have the same click song for both, click sound for both songs. That was one of the things that we heard from a lot of people because a lot of times we would use the click that we would get, and if it's coming from different sources, they might have different sounds. And you might love the click that was with Relentless, but hate the click that was with What a Beautiful Name. Well, now you can use one consistent click sound across all your songs. So what's cool, you can go into settings, you can choose click sound. Classic is one of my favorites. You may notice classic, percussive, cowbell, and I think blip are all from Foundations for Live, if you ever use Foundations for Live. So same click sounds there. We were just listening the other day. I think Saw is another one that I like. So I can change the click sound. Right, that's kind of a Pro Tools-y digital kind of click, which is kind of nice. You could change the click sound, and what's cool is across all your songs, let's go back to that, Relentless.
1, 2.
Right, now the click sound changes for that. So what's nice about this, again, consistent click across all your songs, which is really, really important. The other thing that's really important for me, we did a webinar, I guess towards the end of last year now, just talking about transitioning to a click track, how, why, kind of what the method is, the reasons for doing that. One of the things that's really important to me is using a click with an accent and then having the ability to adjust the subdivisions of your click. Let us know, this is a heated debate in the office that we often have. Let us know if you're pro accent or con, or how would you say it? If you're team accent or team non-accent and click, let us know in the comments. I personally am team accent. I really like it, as are most wise and intelligent people, but I digress. Let us know, accent, no accent. But what's cool about this is now you have the ability, if you like the accent, to add it. So Relentless, I can long press on the click fader, and you'll see that expand. Now I have control over accent, quarters, eighths, and sixteenths. So I can mute the accent if I want just by tapping the name, or I can bring the volume down slightly if I want. And I have control over the subdivisions of quarters, eighths, or sixteenth notes. Another kind of small little thing you may or may not notice is we automatically adjust the levels of subdivisions based on the tempo and time signature of your song. So when you pull down a song at 4/4, depending on, I forgot what the range is, but depending on the range and the tempo of the song, we will automatically adjust just the levels of that for you, which is great. So for me, and again, if you're a sane individual, you will keep that accent loud and in the mix. Make sure you have it. You have quarter notes. I'm at 130, so I don't want eighth notes in there, but I could bring eighth notes in. This is my favorite part about this, though, is now when I go to the Relentless click, you'll see that's a completely separate mix, right? So this is this one, this is that one. Having the ability to subdivide between songs is really, really important, because if you get a song at 130 and you get your click set for 130, no eighth notes, you go to a song at 65, if suddenly you don't have eighth notes, you need eighth notes, you can do that with Playback and with the new click features, which is great. So we have the ability to use the same click sound, we have the ability to subdivide the click sound, and then we have this brand new built-in click. One of the other updates in infinite click, right? This is great, but if I'm on Pro or Premium and I want to go back to infinite click, let's combine what we learned. Edit song menu, go back to our edit song menu, let's enable infinite loop click, and you'll see that changes to infinite loop. So that's one of kind of this general theme of what we try to do with Playback really over the past year and a half, is just make things faster, make it easier, simpler, faster for you to do the stuff that you frequently do and the stuff you need to do. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna show you a quick feature video for one of the features in our app now. This one is, I believe, MIDI navigation. If you have a MIDI controller, you can see how this guy works. Super, super neat. Take a quick break, play this commercial, and then we'll come back and talk about, let's see, two features that are in there and one brand new feature we're really going to enjoy, I know. So take a look at this feature video real quick.
After you've connected your MIDI controller to your iPad or iPhone, you can use it to jump around the arrangement live while playing tracks. Press MIDI and assign the 3 MIDI navigation buttons in the upper left-hand corner to your MIDI controller. You can use previous and next to jump around the arrangement a song section at a time. You can use select to select a song section, and once the currently playing section is complete, you'll jump right to that part of the song.
Awesome. So that is a cool look at MIDI navigation. That's one of my favorite features of Playback. If you have a MIDI controller and you want to be able to jump around your song, really basically do live reorder, but from your feet, if you have a foot controller, or using keyboard controller or something, you can do that really, really easily, which is nice. So I was just checking out some of the comments. Matthew shared a great tip. Accent can be very helpful in working with younger or less experienced musicians. Are you saying I'm young or less experienced, Matthew? If you're saying I'm young, thank you. I appreciate that. If you're saying I'm less experienced, we need to talk about that. Simon said he's loving the accent. John's accent. Oscar is no accent. Corey is no accent. So Corey and Oscar can now officially sign off from the webinar. Kevin can stay. He's team accent. Cool. So yeah, a lot of cool click options. Again, if you like accent, you can have it. If you don't have to. And you can customize it per song too. So let's say you have a song. Let's say you're not one of the enlightened few and you don't like accent, but you have a song that's switching time signatures. You might want accent then, and you can just enable it for that song, which is great, and you don't have to have it for your other songs. So let's get to the next big feature of Playback. And this, again, is a huge one. This is one I'm excited to talk to you about and show you. Let's think about adding songs for a second, right? So I'm going to go to the Edit Song menu here, and I'm going to go to Add a Song. So I'm going to go to my library, and this is typically the flow that we would take, right? I would go into my library, I would choose a song, or maybe I'm searching. Let's do Hope Has a Name, okay? So I would choose this, and I have all these different key options. Oh, and actually that's, I think, the play of the week, so I only have one key. Let's get into something. What a beautiful name, Shane and Shane. There we go. So I have all these different key options. One, this is great if the key I need is within this list, and it's great if I'm connected to internet, and it's great if I know the exact key that I want to do this song in, right? If I don't, let's say I get into rehearsal and we suddenly need to change the key. Let's say you sound a little like Barry White for this rehearsal. Your voice is low, so you need to go down so you can take advantage of that, or change the key for someone. Previously, you had to delete your song, lose all your changes that you had done, go back, re-download it. If you're not on internet, that's kind of a bummer. Well, one of the cool things we did is we added the ability to change key offline. And let me show you what that means. So let's take Trimble here, the radio version. This is in C. Now let's say I need it to be in the key of D. I can hit the edit song or edit button up there, hit the edit song menu, go to key, and let's put this in the key of D and hit update. Now what's cool is you get this option, this little drop down that's going to show you that we're changing the key of this from C to D. But here's the really, really cool thing about this. So this is one of the most highly requested, again, features that we've had in a long time, people asking for the ability to change key. But when we looked at how to do this, everything that existed when we wanted to do this feature just sounded awful. It sounded terrible. So yeah, you could change the key to anything, but it sounded, just really, really poorly. So we looked and looked and looked, and we finally found a library that is the same library that a lot of the DAWs that you use, desktop DAWs that you use for their same pitch and tempo changing, right? So we were able to integrate that into Playback on an iPhone or iPad that allows you to offline make what it is. So you don't have to go in and choose, I want this type of pitch change on this one, this type of pitch change. We automatically do that. And the library that we use, I think, is the best thing for background vocals. So when you're pitching, especially if you have background vocals, you can do that, and that's going to work really well. So I can press play here in the key of D now.
2, 3, 4.
Right, and it's ready to go, which is really cool. If I want to go back to the key of C, all I have to do is tap this and hit reset to default. Let's hit update. And you see we are back to the key of C, which is great. The other thing that this allowed us to do, though, is to make it to where we can change the tempo of a song. So let's go to the same song here. Let's keep it the key of C. Let's take the tempo from 75, and we can go 20 BPM up or down. Let's go to 71 BPM, hit update. That's going to change the tempo for us and kind of crank through that. So a couple things that are really, really cool about this. One, yes, we could change the key. Two, we could change the tempo. But when you combine that with other features like the ability to edit your song, the ability to use auto link to take a chorus off this one, add a bridge from this one, auto link those two songs, you could create medleys of any songs that are at any key or at any tempo, and they're just going to lock in really, really well together, which is cool. So again, we have Trimble. I think it changed 71. So you hear the click change with it. It's going to stay in C. This is the key we're in now.
4.
But again, super, super simple and easy to do that. And you can unlock all that just by hitting edit and hitting that button there, the edit song menu, and that's going to pull it up. And what's great about that is that works on any type of content you have, pads, click, cloud content. So you can load your cloud content in and transpose, change key, tempo really, really quickly and really easily, which is great. Let's talk about another huge, huge feature that, again, has been a highly requested feature. And this one pairs really, really well with transitions, and that is pads, okay? So if I go to the edit song menu now, excuse me, you see a fourth option for content here, and that is pads. So you can go into the pads menu here, and you'll see any pad collection that we have made available for Playback that you can use directly in Playback. Now, one of the questions we got when we first announced this, people asked, how do I figure out what's available for Playback? We're going to share a link in the comments to take you directly there, or you can go to multitracks.com/pads. multitracks.com/pads, and that's going to take and show you all the different pad collections that are available for Playback. So one of the things I want to mention up front, you can't take a MadeStage pad and load it into Playback. You can't take a Ableton pad and load it into Playback. But anything that we formatted specifically for Playback, and some of which are available, I think Pete has a lot of his collections available on MadeStage, Ableton, Omnisphere and Playback. That just means we did a little bit of work to convert it to a file that works in Playback. But you can, anything that you've previously purchased that's compatible is going to be in this menu ready to go. The other thing I want to show you though, and this is just, I think this week, very recently, we made a free pad collection available to every single person that uses Playback. You don't have to purchase it. You don't pay for Pro or Premium. It's available for free. And I think it's one of the best sounding pad collections I've heard in a really long time. So it's just called Guitar Pads, really simple name. Created by a friend of ours, Kyle Lent, who's over at Austin Stone here in Austin. Kyle recorded all this, multiple keys, multiple layers to this. Let me show you what this looks like. Really, really great sounding pad. So let me get out of pads. Let's select this pad, and you can see there's different levels and layers to the pad. So I'm going to play it for a second. Nobody get your praise on, get your worship on in the middle of this. But let me press play, and you can see I can adjust levels. I can take reverse out if I want, diatonic, high, shimmer, root. I could just do that root and fifth. You can see I can bring some of these back in, kind of blend this. So what's really cool about this one, I already sound smarter. I sound way more thoughtful than I did already. Brian, don't get ahead of me, or Bryant here. He's sneaking. He saw something. You can see I can adjust those levels really quickly. And what's nice about this is you have this in any key you want. Again, you could pull it down in one of the initial keys. I think 8 keys. I believe we did this in initially. Or you can use the edit song menu to change this. What's cool with this is you can get tons of life out of this. So you can see I adjusted the levels here. But let's say I just want to literally just have the root going. I can mute these other ones. Now I just have the root. Let's add the fifth in. Right, that's a great sounding pad just in and of itself. But I can add other layers in kind of based on where I am and what I need to do, which is really, really cool. So pads is huge. And again, any pad collection that is shown at multitracks.com/pads can be used in Playback. And you'll see that just in the add song menu, where you add the rest of your content. Again, Brian's excited, so let's talk about the thing he saw that I think everyone else is gonna be excited too. So pads kind of function in different ways for different people. Pads can be really, really beneficial as an in-between. You go from one song into a pad into the next song. That's really, really great. But for some people, and some people watching this, you may not play with MultiTracks. You may not play with stems. So you use pads kind of as your pad sound. Maybe you just play acoustic, or it's an acoustic set and you just want a pad sound. You can do that now, and that's great. But one of the things, and it's funny, when we announced this, it was one of the most highly requested things, was the ability to add a click to a pad. So what's cool, all the stuff I showed you earlier with built-in click and the ability to do that, now I can go into edit and I can access those same features, but with pad content. So I can enable click, and you can see I get my tempo and time signature. And let's keep this, let's do 125.44, and we'll do update. And now you see with that same pad, we now get a click track. I could still adjust the levels of that click, right? I could bring in different parts of my pad again. Or we can stop this and let's go, you know what, we don't need this at 125, let's do this at 107, update, hit edit. What's nice about this is we change the tempo of the click, but we keep the pad exactly the same, right? So we're not changing the pad, and it's not synced, so it's all kind of free flowing, which is great. So you don't have to worry about the pad suddenly sounding weird and awkward and kind of out of place. What's cool about this, you can add that pad, click to the pad. If we want to take it out, we can do that. And our pad is back in our track, just normal, right? You can hear that playing normal, which is great. So super, super simple to do that, to access that. And that's one of the new features coming to Playback that's not available right now, but will be available very soon. And I'll tell you here in a moment how you can get access to that feature before anyone else that's not watching this webinar has access to it. So Bryant is very excited. I'm very excited. I think you'll enjoy that. Before we get to our last brand new feature, and it has to do with pads, you're really going to enjoy that. We want to take another quick break. We're going to switch to another iPad that has the top secret guarded version of Playback that has this feature on it. We're going to get that connected and set up. So take a look at this commercial that shows you how you can use an audio interface with Playback and how it's going to automatically work using a feature called Smart Routing.
With Smart Routing, we have pre-routed every type of track in our catalog to one of 10 buses. You can see those default routings under the Tracks tab in Settings. You can change these settings here, which will change the default routing for all songs loaded into your setlist. Or, while in Edit, you can tap on the track name to change the track to bus routing for that specific song. Smart Routing also automatically routes all buses to outputs based on how many outputs your audio interface has. You can change the default bus to output routings at any point under the Buses tab in Settings. Changes to bus routings are global, and Playback will now remember those settings when you reconnect that interface. If you want to return to the preset, tap Reset Default Settings.
That is a quick look at smart routing. That's one of my favorite features. I think I've said that about every feature, but you should say that. It's kind of like your kids. You don't have a favorite kid. But that is one of my favorite features of Playback, the ability to plug in an audio interface and it automatically routes everything for you, saves it whether you go from iPad to iPhone, which is really, really nice. So let's talk about our last brand new feature. And again, this has never been shown live. We have never talked about this. You guys are getting the first look. Bryant, if you like Click to Pad, you're really gonna like this guy that's coming up here soon that you're gonna enjoy. So pads is great. Everybody loves pads, right? But one of the downsides to using pads right now in Playback is you press play, you're in the middle of a pad. Let's say the pastor's praying, and you're playing on top of the pad. Pastor says amen, you need to get out of that pad immediately and get into your next song. So kind of what you do now, actually let us know what you do now. You probably hit fade out and then fade in, or if you happen to have a pad that you're playing, you're probably playing that pad and then go to the next song. So what we wanted to do is make it to where, for those of you that are using pads kind of as that ambient transition moment, we're gonna make it really, really easy to get out of that pad no matter what point in the song you are, no matter what point in the pad you are, and get into your next song. So let me show you what that looks like. So this is a brand new kind of beta version of Playback is what you're looking at. And this has a brand new feature, and let's show you what that looks like. And you're gonna see, the first thing you're gonna notice when you see it is it looks just like Playback, right? It's kind of an invisible feature. So let's see, we're probably frozen. She's coming. She's coming. You'll see Playback here in a second. It's kind of this invisible feature that initially you don't see anything, but under the hood, tons and tons of usage. So here we go. I'm going to play this for you, and then you'll see it here in a second when you can see it. So let's listen. All right, so there's our pad. So let's just pretend we got the pad going. Everything's fantastic. Right, we're talking, maybe our pastor's praying. Our next song is What a Beautiful Name. We want to be able to get into that at any moment. Our pad is 10 minutes by default, right? So we're going to let that just run. I can adjust my levels, right, if I want to kind of make this work. And then when I'm ready to go to the next song, What a Beautiful Name, all I have to do is just double tap on What a Beautiful Name and listen to what happens. Here we go.
1, 2, verse 2, 3, 4.
Okay, and let's say I'm in What a Beautiful Name, everything's going. And let's double tap on guitar pads to go back to guitar pads. Okay, so you hear the click stop, you'll hear our pads fade in. And the cool thing about this is it doesn't matter how long our pad is, It doesn't matter if we're going between one song and the next song. We can literally live crossfade from any point of the pad into the next song, again, just by double tapping on the song. So as a worship leader, incredibly freeing thing. And you can use the same power engine that powers live crossfade or powers crossfade now to make those transitions happen, which is really, really cool. So let's do it one more time, just because it's fun, right? Why not? As we've been testing this, it's really fun in Office just to see people do that and go. Now the cool thing about this is if you're doing this with MIDI and you've got a MIDI controller set up, it's going to function just like it does MIDI mapping does right now. You can map each individual song. So let's say we had 4 songs here, and when I triggered that song is going to immediately start playing. So we're really, really excited about that. That is called live crossfade. And again, like I mentioned, the ability to add click to pad and live crossfade is not currently available, but I want to give you an opportunity to beta test that before anyone else has access to do that. So here's all you need to do. We're going to share a link in the comments, And if you want to have access to Click and Pad, which we're beta testing first, then all you need to do is click on that link and fill out this beta testing application. Just going to ask you a few different questions. If you pass the test, then we're going to send you a version of Playback that you can use. You can install it on your same device, run it alongside your current version of Playback, so that if there's any bugs or we're not fully complete on a feature, we'll let you know, hey, don't run this on Sunday, but just start experimenting with it. Let us know what you think. You can run that alongside your current version of Playback, which is really, really nice. And then same thing with live crossfade. So once we get Click to Pad where we like it and we feel good about it, we'll release that. And then the next thing up to test will be live crossfade. So if you're interested in helping us live crossfade, test live crossfade, or test Click to Pad, all you need to do is fill out this this beta testing application, and you're going to be able to beta test, which is really, really cool. The one thing I did want to mention though before we wrap up, best of all these features, every single thing is free. So if you can't afford Pro or Premium, or you're just wanting to get started with Playback, excuse me, and you're not sure if you are hooked yet, all you have to do is download Playback. We posted the link earlier. All you have to do is download Playback, get going with intro, and you're going to be ready to go. So again, I'm so glad you guys decided to join us. I'm so glad you joined us for this. If you're interested in beta testing Playback, make sure to check out that link that will let you get in and test Playback. The great thing about that too is if you are a very passionate Playback user, you can speak into different features. So if you see Click to Pad and say, I wish I could do this, you'll have the option to speak into that, which is really, really cool before the rest of the world sees it. So don't tell anyone, but if you're watching now, you get to test that stuff before everyone else. So I think that's it. We're going to sign off. We'll hang out for a little bit and maybe respond to some comments in Facebook or YouTube if you guys are there and want to hang out. But again, thank you guys so much for watching us. If you have any questions, I always like to mention this before we sign off. If you have any questions about anything, make sure to head to multitracks.com/support. You can submit a support ticket. You can see FAQs, videos, anything we have there. That's really, really helpful, beneficial to help answer your question. If you ever have any issues with Playback, same thing. We want to make sure we can help you get Playback going and running the way you want it to and solve any problems you might have. So guys, again, thanks so much for watching. Like I said, we'll hang out and play in Facebook, YouTube for a little bit, answer any comments, questions you have. But if we don't see you before then, join us next week, same bat time, same bat place, 2 p.m. Central, Facebook, YouTube. And I forgot what we're talking about, but we're talking about something and it's going to be really cool. And we'd love to see you there. So if that sounds interesting to you, then join us for that. But we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining us. See ya.